You know the story, right? In the 1990s, there was this one guy who had it all. We're talking private jets, a massive yacht, parties that were just legendary. Hollywood turned him into an absolute icon. But the real story of Jordan Belfort, the actual Wolf of Wall Street, well, it's a whole lot darker and frankly, way more manipulative than any movie could ever show. So let's peel back the curtain on the myth and find out what was really going on. See, behind all that glitz and glamour, Belfort's empire wasn't built on some genius financial strategy. Not at all. It was a finely tuned machine designed for one thing and one thing only: to separate regular people from their life savings by selling them a dream that was, from top to bottom, a complete and total lie. And what's wild is that Belfort had this twisted realization super early on. After his first Wall Street job blew up in the stock market crash of 1987, he didn't see a disaster. No, he saw an opportunity. And this one single idea, it became the cornerstone for one of the biggest frauds in financial history. So that's the real question we're digging into here. How on earth did a guy with no formal finance background build a system that made him millions, mesmerized a whole generation, and in the end just left a massive trail of financial ruin behind him? The answer is a masterclass in persuasion and pure manipulation. All right, let's start at the very beginning. Because before there was the wolf, there was just Jordan Belfort, a kid from Queens, New York. He wasn't born with a silver spoon, he wasn't powerful, but he was born with this unbelievable natural talent for selling. And man, was he hungry for money, right from the get-go. This timeline just lays it all out perfectly. I mean, at 16, he makes 20 grand selling Italian ices on the beach. He lasts one single day in dental school before the dean tells him it's not the way to get rich, and he's out. His door-to-door meat business, it totally failed. But it taught him something crucial. The product didn't matter. He could sell absolutely anything to anyone. So when the '87 crash got him fired, he was finally ready to build his own kingdom. And that kingdom had a name: Stratton Oakmont. It sounds so prestigious, right? But it was anything but. From day one, this thing was designed to be a fraud machine, operating out of a strip mall on Long Island in the wild west of the penny stock market. And it had one goal: make Jordan Belfort and his buddies obscenely rich. So what exactly is a boiler room? Well, imagine a room packed with aggressive salespeople just cold calling people relentlessly all day long. They use all these psychological tricks to push super speculative stocks, basically lottery tickets that they're pretending are real investments. It is all about creating insane urgency and just overwhelming any doubt you might have. And the specific scam they turned into an art form was the pump and dump. This was the engine that powered the entire Stratton Oakmont empire. It's a classic bait and switch, but Belfort's crew, they perfected it. Okay, let's break down how it worked. First, Belfort and his inner circle would buy up a ton of some worthless penny stock for, pennies. Next, they'd unleash their army of brokers to call people and hype it up with total lies: miracle drug, buyout coming. As all these unsuspecting investors poured their money in, the price would artificially shoot through the roof. At the very peak, Belfort would secretly dump all of his shares, making a fortune. And then, poof, the price collapses and everyone else is left holding totally worthless stock. Now this is the really crucial part. Who were they targeting? Stratton Oakmont didn't go after Wall Street pros. No, they preyed on the forgotten investors. We're talking about working class folks, retirees, veterans, people that big Wall Street firms usually ignored. They sold them hope, a chance to finally get in on the ground floor. And then they stole everything from them. To keep this whole illegal machine running, Belfort created this culture of just pure, unfiltered chaos and excess inside Stratton Oakmont. You know those insane parties you saw in the movie? Oh, they were real. But they weren't just for fun. They were actually a strategic tool for control. And what's so fascinating here is to see it framed this way. This wasn't just a party. It was a psychological machine. The drugs kept brokers amped up and on the phone longer. The cash bonuses for doing humiliating things, that built this weird, twisted sense of loyalty. Belfort literally built a cult where money, fear, and adrenaline were the only gods, and he was their undisputed leader. But, an empire this reckless, it just can't last. By the mid-90s, the FBI, led by a guy named Agent Gregory Coleman, was closing in. And as the pressure mounted, Belfort's behavior just spiraled completely out of control. He famously ordered his captain to sail his 150-foot yacht into a Mediterranean storm while he was high, sinking the whole thing. The raid on his offices in '96 was the beginning of the end, and it all came crashing down with his indictment 2 years later. But the fall of Stratton Oakmont, that wasn't the end of Jordan Belfort's story, not even close. In a lot of ways, it was just the beginning of his second, and you could argue his most controversial act. His transformation from a convict into a full-blown celebrity. Let this number sink in for a second. Over $200 million. That's the estimated amount of money his investors lost. Life savings, retirement funds, their kids' college money, just gone. And this number, 22. That's how many months Jordan Belfort actually spent in a minimum security prison for orchestrating that entire fraud. The difference between those two numbers is just staggering. So you're probably asking, how is that even possible? Why such a light sentence? Well, it's because when he was finally cornered, the ultimate salesman made the ultimate sale. He sold out everybody. He wore a wire for the FBI, testified against his partners, his friends, the very brokers he trained. He saved himself by turning on his entire pack. And then came the twist nobody could have predicted. Martin Scorsese makes a movie based on Belfort's own book. And overnight, this convicted felon becomes a global pop culture icon. It raises a really serious question, doesn't it? Did the film accidentally glamorize his crimes, turning what should have been a cautionary tale into some kind of twisted playbook for a new generation? At the end of the day, Belfort's real genius wasn't finance, it was persuasion. I mean, look at his techniques. He created fake urgency, pretended he had inside info, used social proof. Everyone's getting in on this. He understood that people don't buy with logic, they buy with emotion. He sold hope to people who were desperate to believe. And it's the same principle that powers so many scams to this very day. And this just lays out the two Jordan Belforts that exist today, doesn't it? On one hand, you've got the criminal mastermind who caused hundreds of millions in losses and still owes a fortune to his victims. On the other hand, you've got this redeemed guru, a motivational speaker who monetized his crimes and now teaches ethical persuasion. It's a wild contrast. So that leaves us with one final pretty big question. What is the true legacy of the Wolf of Wall Street? Is this story a cautionary tale about the poison of greed and deception? Or, in a world that often rewards fame no matter how you get it, has it accidentally become a kind of criminal's playbook? That's definitely something to think about.